Now we're taking a look back at the World Athletics Championships and in the company of, I suppose, some of Kerry's most talented athletes. I'm delighted to be joined by Kieran Keane of Riocht, a shot put Irish schools champion. Fair play, good stuff. From Lisbole, just out the road, but on Riocht's club. And of course, two Killarney men joining us, one out the road, a little bit out in Glenflesk, and the other fella says he's a proper townie. And that's Jason O'Reilly. He represents Ireland in the relay European Youth Olympics. And he took a gold in the Tailteann Games as well.
Yeah,
absolutely. I was listening very carefully, seeing writing all that down. And Oisin Lynch, 800 metres European Youth Olympics. Let's start with you, Oisin, first of all. The European Youth Olympics, tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a great experience. Of course, it's extremely hard to get to. Everyone's fighting for the one spot. There's only one spot per event, so it's kind of everyone's goal at the start of the year to make the Youth Olympics. It's definitely my goal at the start of the year, so that's kind of what I work towards, and was just delighted to get there in the end. Huge experience.
You obviously had to pre-qualify or qualify or set a time or get past some other fellow to get on the thing. Explain that process.
Yeah. So the qualifying standard for me was 155.3. At the start of the year I'd ran 156 point whatever, and so I was pretty close. Looking for the right races, it's kind of hard around, when you're kind of going for the top at your own age, you have to move up to senior races, bigger races to get those times. So I went up to Belfast, I think mid-June. My PB was 156 and I went into a senior men's race, big race, everything went right for me on the day, and I ran 152, so that was 3 seconds under standard, fastest time in Ireland and fastest time in Europe actually at the time, so that I just blew it out of the park there that day. Everything clicked, everything went well for me, so that kind of secured my spot then for the Youth Olympics.
What's the feeling when you come off the track and you've blown it out of the park? I mean, obviously you don't have 4,000 supporters around you. It's probably, I don't know, family members or the person that drove the car. What's that quiet moment like?
That's unbelievable. You've worked so hard for something, and when you get it, it's just great relief. It's an individual sport, as you say, but the buzz you get off of doing that yourself, do you know what I mean? You could say on teams, whatever, there might be 15 or whatever, obviously it's still great, but when you do something yourself, you're proud of yourself, you've achieved that, do you know what I mean? So it's great. It's a great thrill off of winning and getting those times.
A man that has to do everything by himself is Kieran Keane. I mean, shot put is, I look at it, it's a very technical sport as well. Most people just think, look, it's just throw this from here to there, but that doesn't happen that easily. Explain how difficult it is.
It is very difficult. You have to really have a bit of a mix of speed and strength involved in it, and you can't, in my opinion, you can't be too big or you can't be too small for it, and it is tricky, but there's obviously good big rewards out of it.
And again, I suppose it's an individual sport. I mean, you obviously have to train on your own and the whole lot, and when you're competing, okay, you might have your 8 or 10 people that are competing with you on that day, but it's still very much individual on your own. Do you concentrate on what you can throw, or are you watching what Johnny down the road has thrown? Are you trying to change things, or is it very much kind of a set event, you do what you can only do?
I kind of set targets for myself on what I want to throw, and I work myself on how I'm trying to get that, and I don't focus on other people then.
Are you out the backyard doing this at home like?
Out the front in the slip road, as we won't tell the council now, but yeah.
Jesus, there'll be potholes back in Lisbole, is there?
There isn't yet, but
they're not throwing them far enough. Yes. Come here, you don't have to throw anything, Jason, but tell us about the gold medal in the Tailteann Games. I mean, that's quite special.
Yeah, it's very special. Especially this season is my first season of actually winning golds. Last year was all bronze, silvers, but this year was just all gold. So I won my first in the indoors, and then I got the All-Ireland schools and then the Tailteann. So I was just to add to the 3 goals. It was just amazing.
Yeah. Go back last year, so when you were winning silvers and bronze and the whole lot. Are you winning a bronze saying, I'm delighted to have won the bronze, or are you winning the bronze saying, God, I could have got the silver, I really want the gold?
Last year I was delighted for winning the bronzes and then the silvers, but then you kind of get sick of it. So this year it was like, if I got a silver or bronze, I'd be like, oh no. But last year I was delighted getting a silver or bronze.
And can you see that progression by how hard you train, or by the times you're setting, or are you looking around, are you getting closer to guys, are you passing guys out on the track all of a sudden?
Yeah, guys that, all the guys that beat me last year, I would have caught up and beat them now. So I think it's just the way I've trained and how hard I've trained, and there's ways you can train, but you have to train right. So I think I'm training right.
Yeah. Talk to us about the Youth Olympics. Of course, you went off with your buddy Jason. You didn't run together. You were in two different, I suppose, two different sports. You were in the...
I was in the medley relay.
Yeah, and you were running on your own.
Yeah, 800, yeah.
So very much individual, and you part of a team. Talk to us about that. We spoke to Tomas earlier about the whole relay aspect and the team aspect. What's it like to be part of a team one day and then an individual the next day?
Well, when you're part of a team, it's so fun. It's really good fun. But when you're on your own, you're warming up by yourself, in the call room by yourself. You kind of start, like, your own thoughts just get to you. But when you're in a relay, you can just talk to the lads and just have a bit of crack and chill out, like. So I really loved it. I really enjoyed it, being on a relay.
And being on a relay then, I mean, talking to lads and having the crack and training, does your performance improve because you feel there's more pressure on you because you know these lads now and they're your teammates and the whole lot, and you don't want to be the one to let them down, and you certainly want to run as fast as you can for as long as you can?
Yeah, that's exactly it. You just, because I was with them for the whole week and I got to know them very well, and I've known lads before that. So, you want the best for yourself and as well the lads. So I think relays usually do make people perform better. Because it's you for yourself, but as well for the team, you don't want to let them down.
Mm-hmm. Your own performance, were you happy with it in the Youth Olympics?
Yeah, I was happy enough. Then again, like, I'm always going to be harsh on myself because I know it's not my true potential. Like, I want to get to the very top, so obviously I'm going to be disappointed. I feel I could have done myself. I could have done a bit better. Then again, championship racing is completely different to chasing times, and different standard out there in Europeans across. You're against the different countries, where here you could be running away with races 30, 40 metres, you know what I mean? So a lot of tactics can go wrong and right and things like that. So, it's all a learning curve, and they'll be back again next year.
That's a great point, Oisin, actually. For a lot of athletics, it's the time. But then when you get to a race, it's a race. Explain to the listeners the difference.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. Like, for a time, it's just every man just chasing the hare, which is the pacemaker, to try run a fast time, whatever. Sometimes you mightn't get a fast time. Could be, the splits mightn't be right in the race. Like, to get a fast time, you have to hit the right splits and everything. A lot can go right and wrong. But championship racing is a complete different story. There's shoving, there's pushing. You're going for the win. You're not going for the time. It's completely different. You're just racing for the win, and that's it. It can be very tactical. It could be very slow. Whereas, like, if you're racing for a time, it's going to be fast. But if it's a championship, it's going to be normally slow and just a burn up. So that's the way. It's just different type of racing.
Mm-hmm. The shot put always comes across as a sport. As I said, it's just a guy throwing something as far, but there must be a mental side to it as well. I mean, you often see fellas fouling, not getting the right throw in, not throwing what they think they can throw. Does the mind play games with you at the odd time?
It definitely does, yeah. A lot of it is just keeping the head. If you've a bad start, or someone does a really good throw in the first rounds, or you foul in the first rounds, you always just have to keep the head, and it'll eventually come. And if it doesn't, just move on and take it as it comes then.
There's another day somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that, because a lot of the big throws in the World Championships, they kind of come early, and then somebody who's the favourite is, like you said, fouled the first one or didn't throw very much, and there's a lot more pressure. Do you find yourself trying a little bit harder to get that third throw in, or are you just trying to be safe and maybe do the best?
Well, if you foul the first 2 rounds, you're thinking, let's just get something on the board and I'll probably get 3 more rounds. And usually I just go all out with the final round. If I foul, I foul. If I get it, I'll get a really good throw, maybe a PB out of it, or a podium, or a win or something. So yeah.
And do you go into championships chasing medals, or do you go into championships maybe trying to improve your personal best?
A bit of both, I'll be honest with you. Definitely over in Scotland at Syabs, it was a case of trying to get a bit of both, maybe a podium and a PB. But national championships, in my opinion, is trying to get a PB, and
that's the progression, really, isn't it? It's that couple of centimetres further than the last time, and that goes on it. And then when you set a personal best or a seasonal best, are you conscious of the fact that it's been 2 weeks or 2 months or 6 months since I beat that? Are you trying to beat that all the time?
Yes, I do worry about it, but I haven't really been in that kind of situation yet. But I don't know how I'd react if that had happened.
Sure, we'll ask our runners. They'll surely have good views on throwing. So what we'll do is, you were watching the World Championships, surely, all three.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. With plenty of highlights and plenty of good performances. And what we'll do is we'll take a quick break, and after the break we'll talk about the World Championships.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry, brought to you in association with Meadowlands Hotel Tralee, where being local means coming home.
Of course, I'm in the company of Kieran, Keane, Jason O'Reilly and Oisin Lynch. Oisin, you certainly sat down for a day or two, or maybe all 9 days, watching the World Championships. Some of your picks?
My favourite, I'm big into Jakob Ingebrigtsen, who's a middle distance, kind of distance runner, kind of someone I look up to and follow all his kind of social medias and all that, his training. He would have been a big favourite in the 1500 to win the Worlds. He's Olympic champion, and he just came up short, came second. He lost to an English guy, Josh Kerr, and he went away. He was very disappointed with that.
He didn't hide his disappointment. I mean,
no, definitely not.
He came out and he literally said, look, that's as fast as I could run today. I'm not happy with it. His second time being beat by a Brit on the
2
big
years
stage
in a row.
But he came back strong the next night.
Yeah, he was definitely disappointed. Like, second in the world is still a huge achievement, but that wasn't good enough. Like I said, like, runners are always definitely harsh on themselves, but he came out and 2 days later and won the 5,000 metres, and I'd say people were kind of doubting him as well, saying, he won't last it all or whatever, but he came out and he won it just on the line as well, so that was a big achievement for him.
The 1500 could have ended even worse for him, because his compatriot, the Norwegian, almost caught him on the line, and the Norwegian compatriot is trained by his father, so I mean, that certainly wouldn't have gone down too well.
There could have been a bit of a falling out there.
In the family WhatsApp group. A highlight for yourself, Kieran?
I'd have to say Ryan Krauser in the shot put. Travelled to Budapest late before the competition because of two clots in his calf. Then to go on and almost break a world record in the competition is something incredible. And I just thought that really stood out.
It's a very popular event for people to sit at home and watch the throwing in particular. I mean, you kind of watch the athletics and it's around the ring and off they go, but I mean, you get invested into this because you kind of get to know them a bit more by watching them throw 3 times and 6 times and coming through qualifiers, and even the way they're introduced to the crowd, you kind of settle in and watch it. America first and third, of course, but his throw was very special at the end. Yeah,
it definitely was. Like I said earlier, you really go hard in the last throw, and that's exactly what he did, and just fell short of a world record, and you'd definitely be back for that again. But it was and of course the Olympics is kind of around the corner. I mean, they're in that Olympic year. I mean, Eugene last year, because it was delayed because of COVID and the whole lot. So would a lot of these guys who are in form now be kind of still in form for the Olympics? I would say so at Ryan Krauser, because he always just seems to be on form, and Leonardo Fabri, who came second, I feel he'd take a lot of confidence off of that, considering he was 12th ranked going into the final, and to take a silver medal off of it. So it was a massive jump up in form, wasn't it, from 12th to 2nd? I mean, and to get that throw, and of course America third as well. Jason, your highlight?
There's a few people I really like. I was hoping Andre de Grasse, he's a 200 metre sprinter, I hope he was getting a medal, but unfortunately he didn't. He's kind of sick last year and this year, but I was just hoping he'd get a medal, but unfortunately he didn't. But the person that really stood out to me was Femke Bol. She's a Netherlands 400 metre sprinter, and in the first relay it was a mixed 4x4, so 2 men and 2 women, and they were winning coming down the last 100 metres, and she fell in like 5 metres to the line, and she dropped the baton, so they got DQ'd. So her whole team, and of course herself, was very upset with losing out on a World Championship gold. But then to go off and win her own 400 metre hurdles, and as well in the last day there was the women's 4x4. They were coming, I'd say it was a third in the last 100 metres, and she just passed out everyone and just won it in the last 5 metres. So I'd say her team really was happy with her then. Big time, they really came in, and it was interesting to that as well, because when that tragedy happened nearly on the first night, and actually Hassan fell as well, actually in the 10,000 metres, and she was also representing Holland, but her teammates came out and hugely supported her, and I'd imagine it's a bit of a bitter pill, because she almost got the World
championship record as well as winning it. And to fall 5 yards from the line, like I said, drop the bet and obviously automatically disqualification. But her teammates backed her in that, and it must have been hard for the teammates because that was their gold medal as well, and it was just washed away. But again, it goes back to her point about being great teammates. She's a fantastic runner, of course, and then last night, absolutely, how fitting. It's amazing. It's a bit of a Disney story, wasn't it?
It is really,
Don't know, just to come down the line. Talking about Disney stories, let's go back to Team Ireland. They perform very, very well, and let's stick with yourself, Jason, and stick with the 2 relays, because Ireland were in both of those relays. They were in the mixed relay of the 4x400, and they were there again last night, and even harder last night because Rashida Lecky decided that her season was kind of over, and she wasn't with the team, and a lot of people saying that if she was there they might be faster and the whole lot. They performed massively well though, didn't they?
They did, yeah. Unfortunately, Rashida had a back injury, I think, so she had to, well, of course she had to pull out because it's
a long season for her too. She's running since last January and the whole lot, I suppose, and she's focused on one event. But
the relays are very impressive, and as well with like the mixed 4x4 is a very different race because there's 2 boys, 2 girls, but they're really impressed. I'd say the whole country, especially the women. They to go to a world final and without Rashida as well. It's a big achievement, like.
Absolutely, and Charlie Mosley from Tipperary ran 6 times on that track around, which took an awful lot of her as well. Let's go back to Kieran McGeehan. We'll stick in middle distance. 4th place, obviously first place was going to be given away anyway. I mean, nobody was going to beat her. And she ran as fast as she could. She could go no further. She set her own record as well. Disappointment maybe that not a medal?
Yeah, no, definitely. Kira's been around the block now, I'd say, good few years, and she was definitely coming into the championships hoping for a medal in peak form, great form. Just to come up 4th is probably, it's a huge disappointment for her, but then again, that's going to motivate her. It's just going to make the medal test a lot sweeter whenever that comes, Olympic year next year. So I'm sure that's a big aim for her now.
One of the early competitions was the heptathlon for the women. Kate O'Connor. I think she ended up 12th in the world, which is absolutely amazing, because you probably wouldn't associate Irish athletes as decathletes or heptathletes at the moment. And very interesting, Kieran, that in Oregon last year in the World Championships, in the top 24s, we had 9. We had 12 this year. I mean, that's massive.
Yeah, it is. It's huge, yeah.
How would you explain to people national records, personal records, seasonal bests, the whole lot?
Well, personal bests is the best you've ever ran or threw or jumped ever. Season's best is the best you've done in 2023, and a national record is the greatest that's ever been done in the country before.
Yeah, we set 3 national records at World Championships. Sarah Levin was 1. Help me out, Kieran McGeehan was 2, and Sarah Healy was
723 national record. Absolutely.
What does that say that when they go back to the camp as part of Team Ireland, that you're in that group and they're celebrating that, Kieran? That must be a special moment.
It's huge, yeah. Anytime you set a record, it's always unreal, because they're just thinking, well, I've just done better than anyone else ever has, and yeah, especially with Kira there, and the greatest ever person to ever run a 1500 metres. It's
huge. Next year for the Olympics, guys, obviously you're probably too young, or you haven't set the world record yet, but that is the dream. I mean, you've gone to the Youth Olympics. I would presume everything that happens in the Youth Olympics happens in the Senior Olympics, only for the fact that they're older and they're faster and they're more at the national level. You've got a taste for that now at the level you're at. Does that keep you chasing that dream, Oisin?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, the Youth Olympics is basically like, it's kind of like a younger version of the Olympics. Everything is done the same. Olympic Ireland treat us the exact same. We get all the gear. The athletes' village is the very same. The food, like, everything's, it's just a mock of it for the younger age. Do you know what I mean? It's obviously the Olympics is the long-term goal. That's what every person who's competing at a high level in the athletics wants. So it just makes it I'm even hungrier again after going to the Youth Olympics now. Obviously I have a few more years to go now before the Olympics, but it's definitely on my mind anyway.
Yeah, those 4 years move around fairly quickly, don't worry. I mean, probably not when you're running around the track, I suppose, all the time trying to set 150s. Jason, sure, you're a rock star. You'd love to be on telly waving to the crowd, would you?
I would, yeah, I'd love it.
Yeah. Can you see that pathway ahead of you? I mean, I know you're still a young fella and you're youth as such, but all the people that were there this time, they all travelled that youth road as well at some stage.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see a future if I keep going the way I'm going. training the way, eating the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to stay concentrating the whole lot.
Yeah.
I presume a lot of people help you along the way?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it can't be done on your own. There's a huge, you know, they say it takes a village, and it definitely does. Like to say a big thanks to Clarny Valley, my club, and huge thanks for that, like for me, Jason and Kieran, to the Kerry County Board for the support that they've given us throughout the year. Obviously my family as well, and my coach, who happens to be my dad as well. So there's a lot of work to be done, like, and you know, it can't be done on your own. Just full stop, you know.
I presume he's head of transport as well, is he?
Yeah, definitely. Between my mum and him now, they've been around the country. So,
Kieran, I suppose no different to yourself. I presume there's people that helped you along the way.
Yeah, I'd like to give a huge thanks to Riocht and to Dad and Teresa Walker, who've been incredible at the club, and to the Public School Kirkagreena and Dingle. They've been incredible in hosting, in getting ready for Talton Games and All Ireland schools, especially the principal Eamon Fitzmaurice and Fiona Kerwin, who runs the athletics in the school, and they've just been phenomenal.
And Jason, surely you don't have a big list, do you?
I've big enough list. Well, I'll keep it short though. No, my parents they're very big. They really helped me a lot with, you know, buying me my spikes and my equipment, and bring me to every training session, bring me up to the other side of the country and everything. My parents have helped me a lot, and especially my two main coaches, Tomas Griffin and Ellen Delaney. If it wasn't for the two of them, I wouldn't be half as good as them, because I wouldn't have a clue what to do, you know. So definitely. And as well, there's one person that doesn't get half enough recognition. There's one girl who's me and Oisin's English teacher. Her name's Laura Hallisey, and she really tries to help the school athletics, because in our school the school athletics isn't focused on enough, so she's really pushing for it.
She's shaping her world champions.
Yeah, she is.
Behind the door,
Yeah.
good stuff. Well, listen, fair play to you, and of course an awful lot of good work done by teachers across the whole lot of spectrum, whether you are, I suppose, national school all the way through, and even at the university level as well, and even as far as masters. And we will be talking about, of course, the masters and all that on our next show with Tomas, because they have a European Championships coming up as well, and we're probably hoping for a few medals as well. But it's a great sport, because, like you said, you can go from national school all the way through to the youth, all the way through to senior, and all the way through to masters. And of course we don't forget them either. We can chat about them. And we found a javelin thrower as well back there in Glenben National School as well, which is absolutely fantastic. So guys, thanks very much for joining us.